I also feel terrible that we're subjecting Harry and Ciara to this pep talk as this is Yeller.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Are we on?
Is the natural way, is the natural
yeah.
way that you would
Oh,
pronounce
shit.
Welcome to Spinsters, a podcast where we're just little babies. Today, Jordan Liggins Robinson, is still on her honeymoon, having a great time. I think you should Venmo her for a drink. Her and Fred. Today we have on two of my favorite people, Jason Gallagher, who produces Old Man and the Three, and everyone should subscribe to a newsletter that he's doing now called A Farewell to Takes. And we also have on Tyler Parker, who just wrote a novel called A Little Blood and Dancing, which you can pre-order now. You can get the link from, we'll put it in the show notes. How about that? We'll put the link to the newsletter, the pod, and the novel. So there you go. So we don't have to. Okay, then this is the first thing. This is the very first thing. Should we punch each other just to get it going?
Are we
Should we-
I'm ready.
Now?
Yeah,
Just so you know, because we've got two
I'm
Warriors
showing-
fans in the house, so I didn't.
Oh, yes.
That was a little Draymond joke. That was a little.
Oh dear.
We haven't recorded any current news in a long time, so
Has Draymond come out with a pod yet?
No.
I don't think so.
He
I'm
has
glad
come out.
someone
He has
knows.
come out. He has come out with a pod that he recorded prior to the punch.
Really?
But,
Look, man. Sometimes it's in the
Was
queue.
he like,
You
I'm
can't
about
do
to
anything about it
punch
once
this
it's in the
dude?
queue.
Tyler, do you have a microphone?
No.
Okay,
That's
I thought I saw you holding one, and so I was like,
No,
you
it's
should
a
grab it.
beer. It was
Okay,
just.
Just a beer. Okay.
That's all good. We'll just pull your
I'm sorry,
Zoom.
Harry.
no
it's
no
okay.
sweat.
No,
he's
man, it's
got the
great. It's
little-
fine,
Well,
man. No, it's fine, man. It's totally fine.
Well,
Not
no,
annoying at all.
Let me
Not
look in my
completely
bag. Like I
obnoxious
think
at
that
all.
there might be something in it that might help, and I know there's not, but maybe I'll.
This is
no,
Mary
it's not
Poppins style.
literally
What are you gonna
Tyler
pull out of there?
Poppins. Yeah,
I know,
okay.
seriously.
Tyler Poppins would be good. I would rather have that name.
Dude, I have so
well-
many things that relate to us, Tyler. That Magic Johnson thing was from that project we almost did. Look at this.
Yes.
I took it from The Ringer, the Take Hunter, the fake Take Hunter Oscar.
That was a
That's
really,
great.
I really enjoyed Take Hunter.
All right, let's go.
I think we should
Sorry.
spoof more Netflix stuff because they're spoofing themselves at
Yeah.
this point. Can I read a quote from the Draymond thing that I thought was really funny that Harry dropped in a doc?
Yes.
Okay, this is actually not directly from it. It's like in the fallout from it. So Marcus Thompson, who writes for The Athletic, he wrote about it. Harry, was this in in a piece?
Yeah, this is in a athletic piece that came out.
Okay.
I think like the day the punch came out.
Okay, so the day the punch came out.
Yeah.
Okay, the day the punch dropped.
The punch.
He wrote, "This is unacceptable because Green is 32 years old, a newlywed and a doting father. He should be well past behavior like this. He's better than this. He's too smart for this. If nothing else, he just gave every team in the league a reason not to pay him what he believes he is worth. He swung away whatever leverage he had over the Warriors." Get that little
Swung
language?
was good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Tyler, if you want to rewrite that book. All right, who now have to worry much less about backlash if they trade him or let him walk. This isn't the think 3 steps ahead Draymond, who just anchored a championship defense. All respect to Marcus, because I really think he's great.
He's awesome.
I have a couple things. What does being a newlywed and a good dad have to do with fighting? Because I will tell you, if you've never seen someone's dad beat the shit out of someone else's dad for the greater good, then
Yeah,
was
I
that
didn't,
not all part of our like baseball and softball childhood?
I didn't particularly care for that because it made me feel extremely old. I was like, I can fight somebody. I can totally go fight somebody. Do not say that about me. I'm not a newlywed, though. That's the difference. He was very clear about that. Newlyweds don't fight, but maybe a little later when you got nothing, you just
I
like
do
8
think
years
that
in,
there is.
let's start a fight.
I guess there's some sort of like, maybe you assume that there's going to be some big maturation process that happens when you have a kid or you get married, but in actuality, you're just the same dumb shit you were before. And it doesn't, I mean, like, you know, I think that yes, if Draymond was going to be, if that punch was going to be taking food off the table, that's one thing. This isn't going to do anything to affect his family's lifestyle in any
Yeah, like
way.
how much food? He's never for the rest of his life at risk
doesn't-
of food being off the table.
It doesn't. So I don't. I'm with you. I thought that was odd.
I also don't think I don't think that the punch is any more or less good if you're not married or whatever he's implying there. I've been trying to not
He
have
was
a lot.
single. It's fine.
It's fine.
Unattached.
No, I've been trying to be fairly diplomatic about this one, given just I don't know. I just because I now have to work with. I just never want anything to like.
You're big into diplomacy. You like to. It's fun.
Yeah,
Big thing to do.
so I've been
Yeah.
trying to be very chill about it. But with regards to that statement you just read, I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm just like pretty like not about the punching. But
The last thing I'll say is that, well, it's the second to last thing I'll say, the penultimate thing I'll say, if you will, is that the think 3 steps ahead, Draymond. I think that we're always confusing the play style with the personality, because play style, yes, of course, like this is why he's such a great defender. He can read what's happening. They literally have him in a dropped back position because he's so good at anticipation.
I know,
but
it's a
that's
great
not
point.
your personality. This guy was kicking balls. Like this guy
guy
was
was.
kicking human
Allegedly,
balls.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he is not. He's not thinking ahead. Like we
Also,
have so
Warrior-
many examples of that.
Also, just human beings are not like just because like you know Draymond Green, man, he really knows how to swing the ball around, so he'll never hit somebody. It's like what? Like we're really dumbing people down to their sort of like their best characteristic on in their profession. That's that. So there's no way anyone can do anything outside of like what that thing is. That I really, the more I think about this quote, the more I absolutely hate it. It's a dumb
sorry,
quote.
Marcus.
Also-
to rip you to shreds.
It's a really dumb quote.
You're a nice
It's so
guy.
it's like it's so dumb.
But
What
the
did
only
you say?
reason I'm pointing this out because this is like this was the take. Like this was I think, except for I really liked what you guys put in the newsletter. Everyone should subscribe to that. How would you subscribe?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
A farewell to takes.
Okay, a farewell to
if-
takes.
Yeah, look that up. And I think JJ just basically said like, I wish people would stop talking about things that they don't really know what the situation is, or it could have been anything. And I think that was his general.
It was very good. I think it was diplomatic, but from a player's point of view, and that was also what Damian Lillard kind of said, was like, to paraphrase, I shouldn't punch your teammates, but also like this happens, you know, like people get in fights all the time, like this happens. Now, I'm not like promoting violence or anything, but I also think sometimes people need to get punched.
This is like
I'm not saying Jordan Poole needed to get punched.
This is like when Stephen A. Smith does the like this, that. Now, having said all that, and then he goes into the actual take. This is what Haley's doing right
I don't
this
know.
second.
I mean, it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I guess it really does depend on like what high school did you go to? Did you see a lot of fights and then everything settled out? Like, did you play sports and people got in fights? Did you? I don't know. I don't mean to be pro-violence, but I'm like, he just punched him.
You've
okay,
been spending
Harry,
too
you
much
were gonna.
time in Kentucky. That's what this is.
Well, I think this opinion really originated in Indiana. I'm not gonna lie, but it has definitely
Yeah.
I thought it was
blossomed
appropriate
in the great state of Kentucky.
I thought it was appropriate that Ron Adams was the guy who read it the whole way. I mean, he's got to make a play there at the end to save the day. But I thought that if the defensive guru was the guy who, I mean, he saw it coming from a mile. He came in hot. That was as fast as he's ever walked, right? And and he had those are the shoes with the little that everyone, you know, he has those little shoes that like all the moms have now. I think he's ready to go.
Bouncy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the leg flipped up.
Yeah.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
I saw that. That was a great.
I would say, I was talking to my dad about this. I would say the etiquette that I was surprised by was not the ultimate conclusion of the punch, but that there was not a warning push, and this also seemed to be something players were like, no, he should know if he pushes and what's coming. I always thought it was push, you push back, then the arms, then you can swing. But
go ahead, Harry.
That was a what you just said, Haley, was like a point of contention in my apartment about basically, was it a sucker punch or not? And does the fact that Poole pushed mean that Draymond has free reign to to throw a punch? Dame basically said, yes, Draymond can do whatever he wants. Like if he pushes, not in the quote that you read, but the second half of the quote is like, if I'm Jordan Poole and I push somebody, I'm expecting to have my hands up or whatever. And Dame's like, I box in Modelo commercials. But the
Damian Lillard
is this
had
a
a
commercial?
hard
I haven't
time.
seen this.
Yeah, it's like it's the guy. It's so bad.
What's that music video with the terrible CGI where it looks like he's holding up the world on his back or whatever? You seen that one?
No, I've not seen that, but
I think bad CGI is camp. I think it's cool.
I
couple
think
years
it's,
from now,
I think
we're
it's
gonna be like-
I think it's cool if it's not, and I think if it's, then I think that this was like, look at how strong he is. He's holding up the whole world.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got the world on his
Okay,
back.
I will say though, he is one of the most genuine players when it comes to Dame, when it comes to something like this, because he always gives an opinion that's like, yeah, he should have known, or like, yeah, this stuff happens all the time. It's not like
I
don't
think anything he said was unique on that one.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right. Well,
Just saying.
You know what?
I read that take all over the internet. It was
you've
JJ's
embarrassed
take. It was
me.
everybody else's take. No. I just look. Wasn't that everybody's take? Like,
actually, I wasn't really online when it happened. I saw. I think there were like two, maybe for an hour.
great. I like Damian Lillard. Great guy. Great player.
I talked to my dad about it. I don't know.
It is funny. Like, there's not really a consensus company line on like you just see a video of a dude punching another dude in the face.
Because it's very polarized. Where some people are like,
Right.
"This is assault," and then other people are like,
And that spectrum is huge, because I showed that video to Kelly, and her literal response was like, "Did they call the police?" And I was like,
"Oh shit."
no, but that's like that's not, if you saw that happen in just about any other place, if you were just
Context.
somebody who doesn't follow sports, like Kelly, you see that, no context, you're just kind of like, whoa, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess even the earlier thing when I was thinking of, like, originally when I was thinking about Marcus's piece, the imagery that immediately went into my head was like Little League and like softball games. I was like, I've seen countless parents punching each other, like, what, and they're not even in the game. But
Yeah.
I guess
I've seen, parents
punch.
Parents do punch.
Yeah, parents punch.
Parents
So-
punch. It's true. The newlywed thing, all of it.
But
it's just so bad.
newlyweds,
What is that in
newlyweds
the-
don't punch.
But
I like that when Tyler the Creator's mom on his most recent album, where she's like, "I'll hit a kid." I like that. I love that part. I'll hit a kid. Which honestly,
Did you
now
get-
that
did
I-
y'all-
now that I have
Making fun of
two
him,
girls, now that I have two little girls, I do feel that way sometimes. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
I will smack
I will hit
you.
a kid.
Get out
Yeah.
of here.
I
Did
would
you
hit a
see-
kid on
Don't mess with my girls.
both
Get
of
out
your
here.
kids' behalves. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm
Did
saying
you
it.
see-
You heard it
did
here
you s-
first.
Did you see the Steph take? The take that, like, this is an
No,
indictment
but
on
let
his
me guess it.
leadership?
Oh,
Let me
I
guess
love it. I love.
This is
I
what
don't agree
Steph
with
said.
it, but
I
love
didn't
texts
see
like
it.
that.
This is exactly what Steph Curry said. He said, I think that to be a good leader, we all need a peaceful relationship in the locker room.
I didn't see what he said. I'm talking about other
okay.
people's takes on him, but this was great.
What did he say?
No, other people's takes on him. I don't know what he said. I'm
Oh,
talking
did he
about
say
something
anything?
different.
Oh, Haley, you were guessing what he
Haley,
said?
I'm telling you, the takes that people have about Steph is that his leadership is the reason why this happened.
Right.
I will co-sign because here's some inside information.
No. This
No,
is,
Here's some
Let her
inside
go.
information.
Let her
No.
go. Let her do it. Let her do it.
Okay,
Let's go.
ready?
Sources
I know from somebody who is very close with
Sources
Draymond.
say. Sources say.
Sources
Sources close to the
say
Spencer's
and have
podcast.
been saying I know from someone who's very close to Draymond. I
Is it
think this is
Jackson?
like the 30th time I've said this to you, Jason, because I don't have many inside sources to flex. Okay, I've got one on the Hawks. I've got one on the Warriors. I've probably got.
Well,
I've
now
got.
I want to know. Are they players?
No, they're like all friends of the players. You can never
okay.
get it from the players. That's the thing, because you get
Alright.
too close to the sun.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's literally a Greek myth about that. You can't. It can't be the
Well,
players. You've got to get it.
let's stop the podcast and talk about that. Let's just talk about that Greek myth for a while.
Someone writes a book and wants to get deep.
one guy,
Okay.
All right, what's your
Anyway,
bit? What's your
I'm
bit?
not gonna keep listing off all of the like third degrees of fucking Kevin Bacon
But what is
sources that I have.
What is your thing?
Okay.
Give us the juice.
When
I hope this gets aggregated.
Draymond I've said this literally 100 times. Like I've just said this to strangers in the grocery store. Like there's no way that this is breaking news. I say this all the time. Because I can't keep a secret. God damn it.
Draymond is going to the
This better
Lakers
be
next
amazing
year.
because the buildup is unbelievable.
It's not.
right
I'm
now.
gonna have Harry cut this, so it doesn't seem like I build up stories too much. Because I personally think of myself as a good storyteller. Anyway, when Draymond and KD got into the like semi-altercation, that was such huge news. Harry's nodding because he knows this. Sierra's nodding because she knows this. The next day, Steph went to Draymond's house and was like, "Thank you for doing that because we all wanted it done." Like, Draymond does the stuff that the rest of the team is feeling. So the minute he threw that punch, I was like, he's fine. This quote about, like, anywhere else he could go, Draymond will not have the same career if he goes anywhere else because this is his specific role, again, off the court. It's not similar to his role on the court. Sorry if you guys can hear the kittens in the background. My mom got 2 kittens because our house is haunted, and they're going crazy because they're kittens. Anyway.
She got 2 kittens because the house was haunted?
Let's not
Yeah,
follow
I'll
up.
tell you
Let's
about
just,
this
I was
after.
going to
Yeah.
let that one go.
It was, you gotta
I
let
hope
it
that.
go.
I mean, I really
We
hope
had a
those kittens
ceiling
are okay.
fall
I really
in.
hope
I
those
mean, it
kittens are
was-
okay, Haley. I really
No,
hope
they're
those kittens
good.
are
Our
okay.
friend advised us that getting cats will help with the haunting. So, and
Ghosts
we're not.
don't
I
like
don't think we're
cats?
haunted. No. Anyway, you watch like any Halloween movie. Cats are in it. What was I talking about? Anyway,
You're talking-
Draymond. He has an established role on the team. And that's it. It's taking care of business. So the minute I saw that punch, I was like, everybody wanted him to fucking punch, or if not, just kind of alert.
Do you then think it's an indictment on Steph's leadership?
Maybe.
question.
I mean, if he can't just be like, "Hey, Jordan, please stop being such a hothead because you're gonna get a big extension." Like maybe I don't know.
I'm going to flip it.
Okay, flip it. Devil's
Why
advocate
can't? Why
me.
not? Why can't he just be the good guy in all of these scenarios and have his person who he probably in his mind thinks, well, if Draymond was elsewhere, he might not find the success. So he is going to do my bidding here. Very House of the Dragon like. He's going to do my bidding. We're going to win multiple championships, which they've done. I say it's good leadership.
All right.
I'm into
No,
that.
I don't have any problem with that. I don't think leadership has to look like
Yeah.
I'm disciplining you because I'm the dad figure. I don't think that the dad figure works on everybody.
I
And
also think
this is a classic good cop, bad cop. This has existed for
Jason,
centuries.
Steph Curry can't be the dad figure because he doesn't punch people.
Exactly.
I have been looking for the pro Warriors spin on this, and something about what you just said just sort of finally clicked it in my head. So the dynasty that people always compare the Warriors to is the Spurs, right? Obviously, they bridge the gap. They have the thing, right?
Right.
And you look at this at the kind of node of the dynasty, and there's this giant fight, whereas the Spurs, that would have never happened. But that's because the Spurs were repressed. They were like a bunch of repressed guys who didn't want to talk about their feelings, and it manifested in maybe made up leg problems. And it's like if you hold that I say Haley's with me. If you hold that feeling
anti-player
if you're
over
like,
here.
damn, dude, I really want to punch Tony Parker for whatever reason, but you don't do it for 3 years,
We know the reason.
right? Your calf might start hurting, or your thigh or whatever. And then you just are like, I'm out. Whereas the Warriors are kind of like leaving their feelings on their sleeves, being vulnerable, like young men everywhere are aspiring to do. I think the Draymond thing is like amazing.
This is the job interview version of give me something that's one of your negatives. I care too much. I do care too much.
I care too much. I punch the shit out of my teammates. My teammates don't like him.
Yeah, like for saying I was bad at shooting or whatever.
I think we could go through a list of historical things that could have been prevented by someone punching the shit out of the other person.
I'm a firm believer I'm a firm believer that could save a lot of people a lot of trouble, is if a certain person had gotten hit hard in the face as a young adolescent. I think that could have saved a lot of trouble.
Right. And how old is Jordan Poole?
24, 23, 24?
23.
Yeah.
Okay. 4? See, that's really young. Mm-hmm. The one thing, now I will say this. The one thing is that for this to be public adds a whole nother level to it, because if you get punched in front of your teammates, that's a humbling experience. You said, oh my God, I helped these guys out so much, and then I got fucking punched by one of them. That's embarrassing, but I understand, right? Now, if you get punched and everyone sees it, and you are number one on SportsCenter, you are number one on First Take, you are number one on Around the Horn, you are number one on PTI, you're probably number one on Fox News. I don't know. They're really into the NBA lately. You are embarrassed. You are mortified. And then there's some resentment that would have not, I think, come out had it just been an internal thing. And that was also the point of what Dame said. He was like, I think it's really fucked up it got released. And a lot of people were like, why are we mad at the person who released it? I guess as the public, we're not mad because it's very entertaining. But as the team or as a player, I do understand getting mad about it, because that escalates it to embarrassment, where it might have just been humility.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't have a take on any of this. Like I just do want to set that for the for the record. I actually don't. The leadership thing is such a stupid thing to say for somebody to say. And then for the leaked video, it's like, I can't believe it got leaked. The guy, didn't they pay like over $1 million for this tape?
Oh, is that the number that's going around?
It is very expensive to live in San Francisco.
I thought it was super, super expensive, or like they dropped a bag. And so it's also
bet.
like
TMZ is like notorious for paying a bunch of money for it.
So it's like,
videos.
I can't believe it got leaked. And it's
I'd
like,
imagine
well,
it's
don't
paid for
record your
itself by now.
practices then, because somebody's gonna, go get. It's a heist. It's like the lowest stakes heist you could possibly do, and somebody did it. So I don't know. I also like, just generally am just like anti, punching people. So there's that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I am anti punching people.
You know what? That's okay. I'm not.
Let's work it out, guys.
Agree to disagree.
Let's work it out.
Let's work it out the only way I know how. I'm just kidding. I can talk things out. I'm an adult. But if I was in a professional basketball team, I don't know.
I got a lot of texts in intramural basketball. So
a lot of texts.
You and I have a mutual friend.
Texts.
Yes, you did get a lot of texts.
Yeah, Tyler's seen me do some things on a basketball court.
I would come watch them play sometimes and be like, man, they might carry this ref out of here on a stake. This is crazy.
I was a lot like my dear son Luka Doncic out there.
We know. Well, yeah, okay. That's, I think, less physical maybe than vocal.
Yes.
Which I think is, everyone knows. It's fair to say. You and I and Tyler have a mutual friend who is known to be aggressive and vocal in intramural basketball.
Yeah.
And I would just say all three of us support him. And so
I don't, and that friend is Sean Yu, and he talks way too much shit.
Because listen, fuck you, Jason. Get the fuck out.
No. This is how bad it. This is how bad it.
Your Honor, Jason's being a piece of shit right now.
This is how bad it would get. It would be like at the start of the game, the refs are like, all right, all the teams come here, and then they have to do their like regular, like, no cursing, like took a shit, and like literally Sean would be like, make sure you call it both ways then, and it's like you just met these guys. Like I'm not kidding. Like he would shit talk before the whistle even blew. It was crazy. Tyler, you've been there for that. That's insane.
That is, Sean, I love you. I will just tell a brief story. That there was a night where we just had 5 people for the Ringers rec league team. And Sean picked up 3 quick ones in the first half and was fired up about the third and on the verge of a tee. I could see it coming, and I had to go over there and say,
we have 5 people.
Man, I get it. Where we don't got anybody else that can play. Like
You
if you don't play,
together.
if you don't play, we're Hoosiering it out here. You know what I mean? Like, but I love Sean, and honestly, you can talk about a guy that can get downhill, right? I mean, he can get away and cause some trouble.
Downhill, left and right,
And I'll also say while we're on the subject, because she's on her honeymoon and can't say so for herself, Jordan Liggins, I've been heard, could really hold her own during these. Or now, Jordan Liggins Robinson.
Yes. I played a lot of pickup with her, and I've heard some things myself.
Like she lets you know about it, that sort of thing.
No, she's just very impressive. The game speaks for itself.
She's impressive, but I like
she's a good player. You're saying?
Yeah, she's never she's never says anything about you, but she'll say stuff about herself, which is I love. I am the opposite. I'm just Sean is good. I just am mean. Our dear friend Danny Heifetz, I shoved him so hard one time.
I heard this
because
story.
he like basically tried to take my ankles out.
What?
He's very yeah, I know. He's like the sweetest guy in the world. And I felt so bad after the game. I apologized, but I did shove him as hard as I could.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Sorry, Danny. I love Danny Heifetz.
Yeah. All right, you know what? Because we disagree about the violence, I would like to talk about the future.
It's very organic what you're doing right now.
That was good, Haley.
Thanks. I want to talk about a man named Victor.
Okay. Oladipo?
Wembanyama.
Oh.
What are you saying no for? Have you not watched the games? I didn't. I just watched the highlights. Yeah.
I didn't watch the games. No.
I've been on an extended vacation.
Yeah.
Of the mind. And sometimes of the body. I took a literal vacation.
All right.
When I was looking him up, I saw that Wikipedia still lists him at 2.2 meters. I guess because he's French.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to know what that means? So I had to plug it in. He's 7'4". Quick story. When I was in Italy, I met this guy. And he was very tall. And I was like, how tall are you? You know, just because you like to know. And so I could tell the story when I get back home. And he was like, oh, I'm like 2 point. I forget what he said. Something
People
meters.
say
and I was
that
like,
for real?
You
That's
sound like a
interesting.
baby. You sound like a
my
little
God.
baby. Because in my mind, I just converted it to feet. I was like, yeah.
Did you say that, Tim? Did you say
yeah,
that, Tim?
I was like,
you
that's
sound like
stupid.
a
Tell
baby.
me- Yeah.
You're the freaking American
the
girl
translation
over there.
was not like super good, so he didn't.
That's funny. You could get mad specific on Hinge, like down to the millimeter.
That's what I'm saying. In meters, it's so you have to do like the 0.3478 for it to be even like an inch. You
like
know?
an inch is a lot. That's
Yeah, it was just I thought it was ridiculous.
So
anyway.
your primary observation on Victor is that when you look him up on Wikipedia, they still have his height in meters, and he needs to work on that.
I mean, that was
he
the
needs
initial.
to improve that part of his game
Yeah, yes.
if he wants to make it in this league.
They need to get that changed. And honestly, you can change Wikipedia yourself. So there's really no excuses. Maybe I'll do that after this. Anyway, they say he's 7'4", and when I say they, I mean the Google conversion. He's only 18. Those two things don't add up. He's got an 8-foot wingspan, and in a picture, he made Gobert look like a little baby.
That was one of the first times. There are clips of him playing Chet in like a 18 and under U.S. France game or something, and it was like, oh wow, this guy's really tall. But seeing him stand next to Gobert and him make Gobert, that freaked me out a little bit.
No, I think freaked me out is the good way to say it, because I felt chills.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in a good way. Maybe
What do you mean?
in time. I just was like, I can't fathom it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes your brain can't actually compute
Right.
what exactly that means. When I watched the highlights, I was telling this to Harry. Have you guys had a player before where you see yourself becoming your father in real time? Or like just someone
like where you
older?
react to yes, I have had that.
Because in my mind, I was like, in 15 years, even maybe like 20, I'll tell people about KD the same way my dad would tell me about Magic. He'd be like, he played every position one finals. Like, it was amazing. It was the greatest thing that has ever happened. And the tense didn't add up. He should have said that had happened at that time. But
Right.
to him, it was. And for me, I see Vic, and I'm like, I can imagine myself preaching about KD. Yet this guy has probably surpassed him at age 23 in his abilities. And I mean, just the averages of like block. And I know who he played against, but when you're blocking like that and you're shooting like that, again, I'm just honestly a little bit confused.
Yeah.
You go, Jason.
He's a tall guy. It's really hard because it's simultaneously like, besides like the fight and whatever's going on in Boston and stuff like that, there's not a lot of like real basketball stuff to discuss. And so I feel like I've heard everything. There's not a lot to say about him other than like, golly, like there's really not. And all I guess that's the only takeaway, is that like the sports shows aren't being like hyperbolic with this. They're literally like, there isn't really a word to describe it.
Yeah.
And I think tall guys like that freak me out just in general, and in the way that they in the health department, it freaks me out a little, like just in the like will he stay healthy? I don't know.
No, I know. And when you look it up, hasn't exactly been true so far, because I looked that up. I was like, this is my main concern, obviously. You want me to read you what
yeah, what'd you look at? What'd you find?
Wait, I have this. I promise I have this.
I'm just laughing at like, what if just his main injury is like bumping his head on stuff?
Yeah.
Damn, I can't find where I wrote it down.
Top of his head.
I love that.
I swear I wrote this down somewhere, but no, I didn't write it down. But
do you have like a some summary of what you
No,
looked
it was multiple things. I'm gonna look it up right now. You keep going, Jason.
Okay. Am I just padding for time right now until you
coming back? It's okay, because it literally autofills to
no,
his
but that
injuries.
I think that's the only thing that like makes you that I don't know. Maybe it's not backed up by stats or anything, but I think anytime I see somebody that tall, that skinny, I'm like, oof. I hope that they can stay on the floor.
Well, I know one of them was something like leg related, and that's the real concern. Like, if it's upper body, which one of them was, okay, undisclosed muscle injury. God damn it! And this is
not what you want to hear.
I can't read French.
All right, what are you saying?
There's
Tyler?
something spine. Okay, shoulder contusion, fractures finger, stress fracture in fibula, which I know is in the lower body because it was on Amazing Race last week, and I picked that up. So those are three things. Again, he's 18. Muscle helps, and I'm not gonna like hate or diminish somebody's prospects because of potential injury just because of how they're shaped. But again, it's not like he has had nothing.
Right.
Sure.
And a stress fracture is exactly what it sounds like. It's from too much impact. It's a stress fracture. Yeah. So
is there something to that? He does just move really fluidly, though.
I think that's like the thing is like it's because you've seen tall guys be fluid before. Durant, LeBron, Luka, all these T-Mac, whatever, all these supersized guys going back to whatever, Steve Smith and Magic and these guys. Like we've seen like gigantic dudes be smooth before, but it's just another thing when that comes from a guy who has an 8-foot wingspan. I mean, that's like a plane. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, like his you see these clips of him like accepting, memorabilia to sign in the lobbies of these Las Vegas hotels, and his forearms look like fucking mic stands. Like they're so long. It's unbelievable. I think that it's just the like, and I totally get being afraid of a tall dude's lower half, as a Thunder fan, and Chet's my little sweetie. I'm worried, I want him to be okay. I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, everything's going according to plan on that front. So.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Shout out Sam.
Shout out to Sam.
Yeah, Sam. I just don't. I don't even remember where I was, but I don't think that a guy who is 7'4" and doing all of this right now, who it's not as if he's going to, like, the spacing's going to get any worse, right? It's not like I don't. All the off the dribble stuff that's like all these threes off of movement where he's catching and falling out of bounds and stuff at 7'4". Like, what are you even supposed to do? It does feel like an impossibility. Like, you get these guys like Durant who their high releases and stuff like that. It's like, all right, well, you're probably not going to block that jump shot. But honestly, how on earth is anybody going to, if he makes Gobert look like that, how is anybody going to be able to bother his shot even?
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next point. Who might tank for him? Yeah. I've got a list. And
Everybody.
I want to hear what you guys say, because I don't think this is a really improbable list. We've got the Spurs number 1. In the same tier, we've got the Rockets. We've got Texas, not the Mavs, but we've got most of Texas, 2/3.
Yeah.
We've got Tyler's Oklahoma City Thunder for reasons listed, aforementioned reasons,
Everything's going according to plan.
Everything's going according to plan. That's
we did not want Chet to get hurt. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Well, it doesn't hurt that he's out. Probably would have been yanked.
Chet, play in as many rec league games as you've want, but
right.
You got this.
We've got the Magic because they're always there. We've got the Jazz this year, which is fun. They're changing it up.
I'm be
got
so
the
mad if he
Pacers.
goes to the Jazz. God,
I would be pissed.
Literally sucks.
Yeah, I would be upset. We've got the Pacers. Why not the Pistons? Why not the Kings? I don't think there's any reason. Even why not the Knicks, the Wizards, and the Hornets? I don't know if you guys saw this, but LaMelo is out for the beginning stretch of the season. Now, what does that lend itself to? Losses. What does that lend itself to? An early decision to tank.
I think those last few teams in particular that you mentioned, that's interesting, because I don't think about them in terms of teams that could try to, hit the eject or whatever. But for sure, all of those teams are an injury to their best player away from it making no sense for them to try.
Well, and there's an even more like far-fetched tier. And I'll tell you why I don't think it's that unreasonable. And this far-fetched tier is the Pelicans, Bulls, and Blazers.
Does it have to do with trades?
The Bulls and Blazers, I get. The Pelicans.
Well, because I like to
wild.
think about, like, what's the superstar that's at the superstar level that if it were possible to trade that person for that guaranteed slot, like I don't know.
Nobody's trading out of this. I don't think anybody's What do you say?
I don't think so.
Did I hear that wrong? What did you say, Jason?
This is why.
No.
Well,
that's right. But I don't think anybody's trading out of it either. But it like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
This is my sell for, yes, Jason, I agree. This is also my sell for why all of those teams are possible. And that's a long list of teams. And that would make this the worst season in NBA history since about 2000. And I believe it's going to come. I believe it.
That really came out. That Southern, I believe it. I believe that really. You're on with me and Tyler. It's fine.
I know.
I just said eject.
This is why. Well, you were calling Sierra.
If you're trying to get out of
Ciara.
plane over there, you just hit that eject button over there. You get out of
Yeah.
plane easy.
Anyway, you were literally calling Sierra Ciara, which I like.
Oh,
Also,
shit.
the minute that I had like one drink in me in Europe and I started saying things in a way that was a little bit drawn out,
Right.
no one had any fucking. I might have like it was a different language. Nobody knew what the fuck I was talking about. Even
You look
Google
like
Translate.
a baby. You look like a big old baby. Big old baby.
Look at you over there. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, y'all, come over here. Look at this big old baby over here.
Okay. Anyway, I also just looked at the Zoom screen for the first time in a while, and with this both tucked behind, I look like Willie Nelson. That's fine. That's fine with me. Anyway, I'm gonna untuck one
Anyway.
for my pride. Okay, this is why I believe that all of them might do it. Because, and this is also hilarious, because the NBA might have fucked up their chances a couple years ago at like real parity. Or having teams not tank. Do you guys remember a couple years ago when NBA changed their tanking rules? Now, the old tanking rules was that the team with the worst record used to have a 25% chance of getting the number 1 pick. And they also could not fall below pick 4. But they changed that because teams were tanking too hard because they wanted the worst results so they could get the best odds. And what they did was, I'm going to read this off. The 3 teams, this is the new rule. So the 3 teams with the worst record in the NBA get 14% chance to land the number 1 pick. The 4th worst team has a 25% chance, then 10.5% chance, then 9, then 7.5, then 6, blah, 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 to the 14th team. Which essentially, in the NBA's mind, was like, yeah, we're going to make it so if you're the 6th worst team, there's no incentive to tank because you barely have a shot at the first overall pick or whatever. Same with the bottom 3. They're like, it's not even a guarantee anymore. You only have a 14% chance. However, in a season where so many people or teams want to tank for someone as prolific as a 7'4" French guy who made Gobert look like a little toddler,
A little baby.
all of these teams are going to want to tank. Or if they don't, they at least can recognize that they have a way better chance as the fucking 12th team than they did 3 years ago, as the 10th team than they did 3 years ago, as the 6th team than they did 3 years ago, which is why leaning in harder makes more sense for those outside teams. You guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's also why, like,
I'm
all the
getting
people
another beer. You guys keep going.
I think it's also why all the people that say, well, you just trade a bunch of picks and then you can move up in the draft. I think that teams are seeing now that because the lottery odds are flattened and it's less likely, even if you do, or theoretically in a good spot, it's less likely that you get a good pick. I think teams aren't going to be willing to, trade as often as they might have been otherwise. I think if you get a top 3 pick, unless you think the draft is just a disaster or something, I really don't think people are. I mean, especially not with Vic, but like I would be shocked if anybody in the top. What I mean, like it seems like everybody loves Scoot. One of those Thompson twins, I think it's Amen, is the one who it seems like everybody's trying to kind of slot into the the lowest point of that first tier or whatever. And so there's going to be I think that this draft is just I think that there's going to be less and less like trades, people trading up, because I think it is like a thing where if you do get a high pick, it's just because more and more teams have an opportunity to, rain on the parade. I think you're going to be like, this is our one chance. We can't. Trade it,
well, the only thing I was going to say is like for the good teams that have really crappy, like kind of at least seemingly crappy cultures. Let's say Brooklyn, for example.
Who?
Let's just say Brooklyn, for example.
Okay.
Just for example.
Who else?
I don't know. No, but I'm going to stick there. Let's say you're Sacramento and you have like the number 2 pick, and it's Scoot. It's likely going to be Scoot that you're drafting. But Brooklyn comes in and says, Durant, Ben Simmons. I mean, Sacramento's never had star power like that, ever.
I think the Scoot stuff is different for sure. And I think if you're dealing with a Durant who could be the best player on a title team, I think that's
yeah.
I get that.
So
yeah.
But I'm not saying Brooklyn would do it, but I do think that Brooklyn is one of those like teams that just has talent that probably needs a shakeup from the top down. If they don't do it this year, if everyone, Ben Simmons included, like just doesn't pan out.
I mean, I think if you can get Scoot in the door and have Kyrie in his ear and have Kyrie mentor him from the moment that he steps into the league, I think that you're going to be dealing, with a great player with, zero downside.
Zero downside.
0%.
No, I think it's very interesting, and not to mention like Haley, the teams that you don't even. I think there's going to be even more teams. Like there's going to be the teams that, I don't know, just like the teams that get the early injury that are just like, screw it, let's take a year off.
That we kind of can't predict right now.
Yeah, the Spurs.
Because there is always
Spurs
a team
did that with David Robinson,
out.
right? Didn't they just take a year off and to get Tim Duncan? Like, what if? Everybody, when I saw Victor, I mean, it made me go with Luka, like, should we take a year? Like, which is like an insane thing to say, but like it kind of made me say that. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's going to be a bad product this season, but I mean, when you say at what cost, I'm like, it's at an okay cost.
But
fine.
yeah. What if because I get that there's a certain set of teams that may be trying to decide when to pull the eject button. Now you have it in my head, Tyler. What if? What if the? I'm trying to think who's going to be like so bad. What if the Pacers are like 1-17, or like what if the Jazz? And I think the Jazz are gonna. I think Ainge is
Jazz.
like the
even more than the Pacers.
They're gonna
soulless,
be bad.
like,
yeah,
and Ainge doesn't care too. I think he's just like.
No,
I will get fined by the league for tanking. I don't give a shit. Like I'm going to just do this and be the best team. So like if you're Charlotte and you're 7-12, it's going to be hard to catch up to some of these teams if they really are
Harry,
bottom of the
you don't
barrel.
need to because of the stats I just gave. You don't need to anymore. Think about it. 14% is the 3 worst teams. That's a differential from the 5th worst team is a 10.5%. That's why they've set themselves up a little bit for failure. I don't know how they would have ever known this, but you don't necessarily, I think that will only encourage it because you don't need to catch up in any real substantial way. You just have like maybe 6% chance.
It's honestly a way for some teams to sort of stealth tank in a way where it's like they can sort of feign respectability, but they're not trying to be properly competitive, right? They're not trying to go win anything, right? Like maybe they're not trying to get embarrassed, but it's not as if there's some like, moral desire inside them that's like, no, we have to put the best possible team on the floor, right? It's just like they're just not as blatant about it as others. And in some cases you don't need to be. I mean, the Kings, I think, had the 7th best odds to win the lottery and wound up in the 4th spot last year,
in some teams we've seen them really try. God,
no, I mean,
but
I'm a fan of a team that has been trying desperately to tank. Like it for sure. There are plenty of teams that do it and are obvious about it. But yeah, I think those teams, like the Kings last year or something like that, where like in a best case scenario, they get into the play-in and they do a respectable job, right? It's, it probably better for the organization to not be there. And then it wound up that, they get Keegan Murray, who looks amazing, and so I don't know. I'm rambling.
Did you know, Tyler, just very quickly, so have you been in Oklahoma City lately? I guess I saw you not long ago.
Right.
Have you seen the Thunder's like billboards? So for the last 3 years, their billboards around the stadium and around on the highway and everything, it says always onward. And I feel like that's just like literally out loud being like, You don't
We're
gotta
failing
come
on
to these
purpose.
games. It's kind of crazy that it's
Tyler,
so blatant.
Listen,
It's like right
you know
outside.
It's true.
Of course he knows it's true.
I'm not.
But
I'm
laughing at. I'm
I don't think. Yeah.
I'm laughing about how unbelievably shameless it is that they're like, we don't care about right now. It's about the future. And because always onward is just makes me think about looking ahead and not in right now. You know what I mean?
The one thing that is or not at the one thing, but one of the things that I find very interesting about the Thunder, just, you know, when you look at them compared to some of the other teams that are tanking, is some of the other GMs have come out with sort of, you know, cryptic, you know, answers in press conferences or whatever, but no other GM has written a letter in the statewide paper saying how you're just gonna have to be patient for a little while. And so which happened. And so it like, no, I mean, I'm definitely not I hope y'all don't think I'm suggesting that the Thunder aren't tanking. They're probably going to tank.
They're tanking it.
Yeah.
And Presti legitimately couldn't have a better town to tank in either. I mean, as a person who is here every day, downtown every day, it's like no one cares that they're tanking. There is no like up in arms article being like, when are they going to start winning? Like, it's not happening. It's a football town. So he could tank for another 4 years. I don't think anyone would give a shit. You know,
That's
I think
really
that
good
whatever
point.
team he winds up building up is going to be awesome.
I mean, you know, if they get a good pick this year, then that,
dude, I love the tanking.
Healthy.
I love the tanking. Last year, Tyler, last year I went and saw Luka play at the Thunder Stadium. I paid $48 and I had third row seats.
Oh,
third
dude,
row.
I've sat
row.
I've sat so close at some of these Lakers games out here. Whenever the Thunder come to town, it's incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah.
People are like, at 20 minutes before game time, they're like $4, whatever. Just get me out of here. I don't care.
Take me out of this.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point, because when you think about Philly, who's the team that got chastised for it the most,
yep,
their other sports at times were doing very, very well. Like the Eagles went to the Super Bowl in 2018 and people were still up in arms about the basketball team.
Could I say that I think it's odd. I get it that people do the Philly thing because they did do it, but tanking has been going on since the dawn of time.
Okay.
And I think it's weird that
you're like Jesus tank. A man
what
got
do you think the
himself
resurrection
strung
was?
up.
They thought he was dead and he was fine. He was actually
and he
better
came
than ever.
back. Yeah,
Dude,
he came back stronger than ever because he got hung up. Yeah.
It only took almost an hour for Tyler to start being like, they've been taken since the beginning of time. I knew it was coming.
That is the one thing that bothers me, because I feel like a lot of people do sort of like this unprecedented thing that offends me as a human being. What humanity?
We should coin
unprecedented.
Okay, we should do unprecedented. That should be the billboard.
Unprecedented.
Yeah. Precedented. Yeah.
I think that's a good spinster's billboard. Probably.
Is anyone actually mad at the Thunder for tanking though, Tyler?
No, nobody gives a fuck. The thing is, retroactively, when people realize, I don't think people understand what's going on to the level we understand what's going on.
Yeah,
when they do, then it's gonna be like you wasted years of these people's lives. But
I've been giving Presti a lot of shit, but I actually I respect it so hard because
it's the only way to go if you're there.
It's the only way to he's not interested in like a 5th seed second round playoff exit. Like, my guy wants to build a dynasty, and like, you don't do that in Oklahoma City unless you mega tank. Like, it's not Philly. It's not. There's no attractiveness to playing here outside of being successful. So I think it's the only way to go. I don't think there's any other way. None. You have to mega tank.
I'm obviously very biased and a total and complete homer and can't be trusted. I really don't know what's right. But it is interesting that some people who do decry the tanking, it's like, well, would you rather they be sort of a mediocre Kings franchise who a mediocre might be kind over the last decade and a half, right? Like, would you rather be that and never sort of blatantly bottom out and sort of act like you're trying to make the playoffs? Or would you just rather someone be like, hey, look, here's the deal. We're going to suck for 3 years, but we're doing this so that we can try to be really good for 10. Like, it's not as if
the Thunder are going to suck for a lot longer than 3 years. But they have to.
No, they're going to, well, they've tanked for 2 drafts, right? And I think that
Are you talking, Jason, about like, you're including the last 2 years?
I think that the Thunder are going to wind up being really bad for probably a total of 5 years before they're in like the playoffs.
5 years before the playoffs?
I think so. Don't count the play-in. No one's counting the play-in. Relax.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I wasn't even thinking. I still have to remind myself it exists.
I just think for Presti's ambition, it's got to be like it can't be a normal tank. It's got to make the process look like nothing, like a little baby. This is a mega tank.
I think if they get a top 3 pick this year, and depending on the health of everybody, I don't necessarily think it's playoffs the year after that or anything, but I don't think that it would be. I think that it'd be, like the gloves are off at that point. I don't think there would be any like, Shea, you look tired, right? Like I think at that point they're trying, and I think at that point they are competitive. If they're in the playoffs or not, that's
here's the thing.
Depends on who they get. But
here's the thing. According to if you add in a proper tank, right? Let's say the tank is successful, Presti's dreams are achieved. Let's think about who else at that time in the West has really given the time to try to do what Presti's done without really giving the commitment. All the people I just listed, the Spurs, the Rockets, the Jazz, the Kings, of course, Pelicans, Blazers, right?
Yeah.
Just by sheer what they're going up against, I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And that's the counter argument.
I think I always find it also like really fascinating, the transition from the tank to the real. It's like, okay, they're probably going to give this coach a chance. What? Right. I don't even know what he looks like. What's this guy's?
God bless him.
Bit?
No, he's a sweetheart.
He seems great. He seems like a great guy.
I'll send you some pics. You'll like him. You'll really like how he looks.
They're gonna owe it to him to keep him around while he's got the gang, right?
Tyler,
they're gonna owe it to him.
I'll drop some Dagnall pics in the GC. See you guys soon.
So what I'm saying you can't build it. You can't build a. It's going to be really hard as a coach to build to rebuild your entire culture, because I do believe in like basketball culture more than probably, and I just think that like. I think that it sucks for this coach, because there's no way he's going to be coaching these guys in like a deep playoff. Like, it's not happening.
We should make like a compilation for the when the Emmys people die. We should make a compilation for the teams the coaches that had to coach teams that were
the tanking teams. Yeah.
I could totally see how that could happen. I don't think it's a given that Dagnall's out of there. I mean, the guys.
I think they're going to give him a chance, but I'm saying how it's got to like. How do you maintain a winning culture on a team that's tanked for that many years? Like, how do you just flip the switch? I know that you're going to have talent, so I'm curious. I'm not saying that it's not possible or the Thunder aren't going to do it. I just think it's like really, really. There's no prestige behind the Thunder like it is like even with Pop. Sure. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
I don't know.
I think that when people talk about the winning culture stuff, I can't like. I guess I understand it to an extent if it's like, okay, these guys have to sort of learn how to win, but for the teams that play hard, they're just sort of overmatched. I don't think anybody is watching these Thunder teams and seeing how hard they play and thinking like, well, this is a wayward ship nobody has control of the reins here. I think that it's possible to build a quality culture amidst losses, as long as you're not like, hey, these losses are cool, let's keep this shit up.
I don't think anybody's doing that. But I think when you look at like the teams that have kind of gone from like pretty crappy to okay, now we've got the real gang together. We've seen them under the old coach. Let's bring in a real like dude, and I think you could say that for like Milwaukee and
Minnesota Timberwolves.
You could say it for Phoenix. You could say it for
as to going wrong.
Golden State. You can say it for a lot of teams that it's like, all right, now we need a big boy in here.
I think that it depends on, because they'll consolidate and cash in their chips for some kind of available / disgruntled vet who is good at some point. Maybe not as good as Chris Paul was when the Suns grabbed him a couple years ago. But
that was the ticket. And that's probably the only reason I would say the winning culture thing won't affect OKC. Not to like hold that thought, Tyler, but that's the only reason that I think that it won't affect, because that will have carried over to enough of the players who are still on the team. Whereas I saw firsthand what the Wolves went through, and it was just like years and years and years of having nobody who knew how to win. And then when Jimmy Butler came in, it was just too extreme for them, too fast. Like it was too serious, too fast. And but I don't think it's going to happen to the Thunder only because of that, because there's
not going to be enough players there that were still there from the Chris Paul times.
Maybe you're right.
I don't think
that's
so.
probably fair. I mean, Shea will still be there. Dort will still be there. Muscala was still around. I think that was Kenrich there that year.
You think they're going to hold on to Shea for as long as they can?
I still think that if they don't, that's
just silly. What's the point?
I still think they're going to hang on to him. But yeah, I sort of understand why people bring him up, because it seems, I guess if you're planning on somebody to be disgruntled, I guess it sort of makes sense that he might be the guy. I think that it's just a unfortunate state of the industry that's even like a thing to talk about. Like seems like there's a lot of good teams in the league, a lot of good players in the league, plenty of stories to talk about, that it is. I don't know. Anytime they would do this shit with Cat, you talk about the Wolves. Anytime they should do it with Booker and stuff back before the Suns got good. I honestly do sort of feel like, well, who is this for? And I get that the like free agency stuff can drive a lot of clicks and everything like that, but I don't know. I don't like nothing the Thunder have suggested that they are trying to trade him. Nothing Shea has said has suggested that he wants to get out of there. I think it's weird that it just sort of like,
it just comes from a desire to see him
for sure. No, I
play
get
well on a good team.
Sure, that's probably a good point.
That is. Yeah, that's all that is.
No, but it is a weird fandom thing. It is like a clock ticking. I don't know why it seems like the internet just has like a clock ticking for a lot of players, and of course you don't want to say wasted youth, but at some point you're like, well, are we sure this is wasted? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I get people being like, this guy's really good. It sucks that they're not playing. Like I kind of agree. But it's also like he signed a 5-year max deal and has said he wants to be there, and it's like it's not like they don't appear to be holding him there against his will.
My version of that is I think he's really cool, and I just wish he was on TV more.
Sure.
Cool. He's cool as hell.
Yeah.
And even more than the basketball, I just think he's cool.
Good style.
Tunnel picks.
No, he is.
Great.
I think that he's a guy that, I mean, and hopefully it happens in Oklahoma City, but once he's on a consistently competitive team that's actually on national TV a little while, I think that, the casual fan will really fall in love because he is so different. I mean, a lot of these dudes can have the same trainer and play the same and get in spread pick and roll, and they have their little step back and side step combos off the bounce, and that's kind of the vibe. And Shea just has so many different ways to like score while driving. And I think that that's like that aren't dunks. You know what I mean? And so I hope that hopefully it happens in Oklahoma City. But yeah, I think he's like a guy who is, if I was like a little kid in the middle of the country and like saw Shea,
baby.
if I was a little baby and I saw Shea playing, I'd be like, I think that it's the type of thing where like, even if you didn't know that much, you'd be like, oh, he doesn't play like everybody else plays. Sure. And not even in like a good, like, not even in like an ability sort of way, but just speaking aesthetically, right? Like just based off of the style, right? Oh, this guy's trying to do something that's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It's fun it's fun that those dudes exist.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, Giddey's fun like that too. I think Giddey's got the really unique. And if Chad ever gets healthy, that will be a fun.
It'll be just weird. In a good way.
The tanking thing. As you guys are all talking about this, it does make me think like, just like all sort of strategies that are executed in the NBA, there's a spectrum of who's good at it and who's bad at it. Like, yes, the tanking, one of the downfalls of tanking is a losing culture. I think like some people believe that, but there's probably a spectrum of like your ability to instill it versus not instill it. And like, if you look at Memphis's tank job, I think they probably did a little bit better job instilling it versus Phillies and
sure.
And I wonder if that has like, people get so I used this word earlier today and got made fun of, but people are so dogmatic about like tanking means this and not winning culture means this, but like it might just be that there's like a set of individual relationships that
we didn't make fun of you for using that word.
I did, yeah.
The it was that we didn't know what you were trying to say.
Yeah,
I think my big positive, like honest assessment of the tank job in Oklahoma City is that I think you get to dictate what your culture is in this city because not a lot of people are talking about it, which you can use that to your advantage. And so in Philly, it's like if you're tanking there, then you have to turn on the radio or read the paper and they're just talking shit. You suck. 24/7. And that really gets in your head. And in Oklahoma City, you can define what it is that you're doing. You can almost say to yourself that you're on a secret mission that nobody knows about or is talking about. And it's like, so I do think that it's probably a lot easier to turn it around in a culture where you get to dictate your own mental state. So.
Presti has to have learned from Hinkie because Hinkie was like, "We're tanking, and I'm a genius." like, what a bad way to.
Well, and to your point, like Jason, you guys had on JJ's and Tommy's pod, like you had Ben Simmons on, and that was like the first time he'd ever talked vulnerably about the fact, like how that had all impacted him. And if you are somewhere like Philly, they are really laying it on, like not every season, every fucking day, because they want to know in the off season, are you shooting? They want to see these videos. They want to know what's going on. Are you showing up to practice? Like, are you with the team? Are you texting with the team? There's so much going on all the fucking time that's not going on in OKC, or at least not that we know. Yeah.
I think it's definitely going on. I just think there's not the media apparatus to make it a. And
it's not going wrong.
People in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City are obsessed with sports. It's, if you go look at the sports talk radio, like markets and share size, they're always like weirdly way up there with like the Bostons and New Yorks. Mm-hmm. People love it, but there is not a. There's not 6 newspapers that are going to plaster some negative shit across the front, right? It's just kind of, I don't think it's necessarily that people don't. I think people are happy to be like, yeah, give us a really good team. Some people are. Some people hate it. Are not excited about the tank job for sure. But I think that there are definitely people that are like, no, we get it. All right, let's just speed this along. Come on,
Yeah, but it pales in comparison to the size of some of these other cities.
No,
the Thunder fandom is just so. It's not as, you don't walk down, like you can go a whole week without seeing like a Thunder shirt. I don't think you could say that in Philly. And in Philly, like, just to go back to that Ben interview, like I always thought Philly fans suck because I'm a Cowboys fan. Oh my God. When we put that interview out, I've like never, I had to sift through the comments that YouTube holds and you have to approve or decline. some of the ugliest things I've ever heard from people.
Damn.
and they are so mad at JJ's interviewing style, and they were just like, "You should have fucking broke a glass bottle and beat him over the head with it." That's what they wanted. They were like, "Well, why didn't you say, well, what about?" And it's just like, well, because he's not interviewing Nixon right now. He's interviewing Ben Simmons. It's not
Right,
that
exactly.
serious.
What did they want him to? What did they want him to ask that he didn't ask? Because he asked about the Atlanta shit. He asked about
It was very not
so
confrontational in a bad way, but it was confrontational in the way where he was like, he wanted honesty in a way that hadn't really been, or not honesty, like openness in a way that hadn't been given before.
The number one thing in the comments had to do with when he asked about the Atlanta Hawks series and asked about his free throws and that particular play, why he wouldn't go up for a layup was,
right.
And how probably foul shooting had to do with it. Now, again, it's like he gave him the opportunity to speak on this series and on that shot in particular. If Ben doesn't want to talk about that, and then just talked about how, like, psychologically you clearly were not there. He had mentioned, like, I've played in playoff series with you. You performed well. There was something different about this. What was it? Like, he didn't, they're mad that he didn't follow up with, like,
but also Ben answers
tone.
it directly. He goes through his thought process as a player. And to me, it made sense.
Yeah.
What he was saying. Like, I'm obviously not a basketball player, but I'm not necessarily saying, oh, yeah, now I fully support his point of view. But I'm like, okay, I can at least see where his point of view came from.
I've fully walked away from that being like, Philly fans are terrible. Like, they're just the worst. I think I'm just saying it out loud here. Like, so we're back to it.
We're back,
Philly fans they were just a little angry. We all go through things. Shout out Philly.
Anyway, what I really wanted to talk to you guys about, what I brought you on about, was a particular tweet. No, you go ahead and take that.
I'm laughing.
Wait, can I
shout out Philly? What an incredible.
Hey, shout out Philly and love the fucking city, man.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
National
The
treasure.
Birds.
Oh my
God.
God.
Harry, what were you saying?
The one just on the Ben Simmons interview, I want to say, because I was honestly really struck by it, the interview, and had low expectations, not on anything about JJ or the form, but just of like what he has said nothing for a year and a half. What could he possibly say that's going to be like?
No, I get that, because you don't know how honest Ben Simmons even is. He doesn't talk that much. You don't
know how
forthcoming
upfront
he's
he
gonna be.
was.
Yeah.
Wild.
No, and yeah, totally. And I was like blown away by it. And I think the thing that struck me the most is if you put it in conversation with the kind of DeMar talking about mental health and Kevin Love talking about mental health. The big difference, I thought both of those also were like, as an anxious guy myself, I appreciated people, NBA players talking about it, but they were doing it, A, sort of in hindsight, and B, after performing at a really high level.
Totally.
So it is different to be like, damn, that was really hard being an all-star and having mental health, which is, I'm not like diminishing that. I think that's important. There's plenty of people who seem like they're doing well that are struggling, but for Ben to be like talking about mental health after he had just like totally fucked up and not to kind of like reduce it to that, but like totally put himself in this tricky situation, and his mental health was a part of that, was a level of like vulnerability about mental health that you really don't see that often. Like, you don't see people being like, I messed up and it was because of my mental health, and just being like owning it like that. And that's the it's so funny, like the free throw thing, like he should have dunked it. It's like, dude, he admitted to having mental health issues. Like, what is more vulnerable than that? Like, it's that is certainly like more.
Well, and he also just straight up, I think if you take the interview as a whole, and this is just a part of the culture, we have to clip things out, but when you take the interview as a whole, they had addressed his shooting woes during that series, and how like shooting had gotten to him, in the discourse around his shooting, he said it fucked with him. He said it straight up. He said it fucked with him. So it's like, you can translate that to, he's never going to just outright be like, I had the yips. Sorry, everyone. But that's basically kind of what he said. And it's like, I don't know. I will say that getting to do this show and sort of sit in the conversations before and after that happened, I think just the takeaway that, I definitely fell victim to this. I mean, big in a huge way, but just how human all of these dudes are, despite all the money and the fame and everything like that. Like just the exact same problems that we go through, they go through. It's just that they have a massive house, and it's just I don't know. It really has opened my eyes to some of it, and I really felt that way. It really solidified during that the year after the bubble, in which they had the COVID protocols, and just how the players had to live through that, and how depressed a lot of these players were. We did the Duncan Robinson podcast, and I remember they had Willie Cauley-Stein on, and he's not like a superstar or anything like that, but he like legitimately, that was probably my favorite episode, because he was as open as a player has ever been. He was like, this is really sad. I'm on the Mavericks. He was basically like, I'm not like passionate about the Mavericks. Like he's just like, it's a job, and this is like a really sad life I'm living right now. And I was just sort of like, yeah, you can't leave your hotel. Like it's wild. So I don't know. That's been my takeaway. And with the Ben episode, it's like, I don't know what else he could have said. I think there's just nothing else he could say. I mean, I'm glad he did it.
No, he said it all. And also, I remember, I don't know if you want to bring it up now, but like from that same time zone, you were talking about Drew Holiday and how he was kind of recalibrating what is important the same way we all were in the pandemic. And it's like, different things matter to different people coming out of something like this. And when you're a basketball player, I think people expect you to hold basketball above all else. And that's just not necessarily fair, especially when you are having or going through a difficult time. And that should really be the end of it, is going through a difficult time. But I think it's a weird precedent that we've established that's like, I need you to prove it, that you're going through a difficult time. And also it's like so much easier for some reason to prove it to the public if like you're a very likable player. Who the fuck doesn't like DeMar DeRozan? Who the fuck isn't liking every single one of Kevin Love's wedding posts? Everyone loves both of those players. When you're not as quote unquote lovable, like you're not getting that kind of like support for your mental health battle, which is like, it's horrible. That's all you need. That's what you need in that moment.
Yeah, the only reason I'm going to say this, because it's been said on our podcast multiple times, like that season was a huge reason why JJ like retired. Like it was a huge reason. I mean, he could have done surgery, could have done a lot to like make sure he was back to at least healthy, but that season of having to be away from his family, and he was dealing with real life problems. The NBA hadn't announced when that season was going to start. And he thought he was going to get traded. Never happened. I mean, so much had happened that had resulted in him having to be away from his kids, that he wound up, spending Christmas alone. He's talked about it on the pod of waking up on Christmas morning and just bawling his eyes out because he hadn't seen his family in so long. So it's like, these are all real life things. And he eventually was like, basketball doesn't matter that much. I'm going to go drop my kids off. And it's just like a real thing that, and yes, JJ's a very charismatic, good looking dude, all that other stuff. But like, so what, Ben Simmons can't also kind of go through that same shit? Like he still goes through it. I mean, I think we all do. So I don't know. I will never be one to like assume that someone's like lying or whatever like that. Like it's very clear he was going through something. I don't know what else somebody could say. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so obvious he was going through something.
100%. Like, you're the most hated person in a city of haters. Like, nobody knows how to hate better than Philadelphia people. I'm sorry, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a skill. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you are the end game of all these people hating the shit out of you, and they hate better than anyone in the fucking world.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Literally forget about it.
Forget about it. Forget.
Fuck it. When I was in Italy, that was the other thing that was fucking hilarious. Forget about it. Everyone was doing this.
Serious? Everyone was doing that for real?
Dead ass. I literally was like, I thought that was only on The Sopranos. And everyone was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I thought these things were I thought this was made up. No, the little like, duh, duh, duh. You know, everyone does that. And everyone says, nah, nah, nah. Everyone does that like little, yeah. Anyway, I want to bring up the Royce White tweet before we go.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, I have about 15 minutes before I have to
All right.
leave. Okay.
Good. Your calculation. We're way off, but that's good.
You are way off.
Tyler, I want to bring up the Royce White tweet. Are you ready? Do you
Why
all
are we
remember
doing
him?
this?
Because it's funny.
I don't follow him, but I saw that he was saying stuff.
He was saying stuff. Do you all remember him from Iowa State, the forward?
I do.
Definitely.
Okay, yeah.
I do.
I would say from an NBA standpoint, if you're not familiar, that's fine because he had basically nothing career, was drafted, didn't even play that year, played the next year for the team.
By the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
He was drafted by the Rockets, didn't even play for the Rockets, yeah. Famously the guy who wouldn't get on an airplane, which now I've looked it up. Now apparently he does, and I don't know if I'm gonna jump at someone or laugh at somebody not like scared of something, because just 2 days ago I almost wrecked my mom's car because a spider dropped down while I was driving right in front of me. Dropped down, huge. I pulled the car over. I swerved, pulled the car over.
That's
it's
so
on
different.
the wheel. Well, I think, in terms of irrationality, I've been told that my fear is a little bit irrational. It was yellow. It wasn't as big as I thought it was, but it was yellow.
It would be funny if that turned you into a right-wing pundit.
Enough. Enough.
Okay. It might. Okay, anyway, so now Royce is running for Congress, fast forward, in Minnesota. He is, as Harry hinted, legitimately a far right wing. Like, not even like Republican. Like, this man is
He's like Bannon's boy,
furthest.
right?
Yeah. When you look at the things he's even specifically talks about, like he's talked about Satan being in the government a lot.
Yeah. Like,
do I sympathize at all? Yeah, I'm like,
Broken clock's right twice a day.
yeah.
Jonathan Isaac's like, chill out, my guy.
Yeah, John Myers Hunter is like, can you relax? Yeah, exactly. So this is the tweet that Royce White sent. It says, Karl Marx was an anti-Jew who resented his paternal lineage of rabbis and took up an intellectual counter-movement that rejected God, which is a rejection of the natural order, ... He wanted to be a European woman. If you follow him or any offshoot, you're following a white woman. And one of the quotes, while you're processing, one of the quotes we said, fellas, is it gay to resent your paternal lineage of rabbis and reject God? When I saw this, I was like, okay. So Karl Marx was the first girl boss.
That's so true.
So true.
These,
I have no takes.
I have no.
Back to my original statement. I have no takes.
Back to my roots.
I just think all these people who think that are fucking pathetic. Think that
all the people who think Karl Marx was a white woman are pathetic.
Quote card. Make a really slick quote card out of that.
I don't know. I don't even have anything good to say. All the anti-trans stuff is horrifying. I think it's horse shit. I think all these people that are peddling it can go jump off a cliff. Yeah, I don't know.
Horse shit.
I realized while you're saying that, I guess actually Karl Marx, because of his beliefs, would have been the first girl boss who was like, I'm not a girl boss. I'm actually a girl worker. But I was talking to someone today, and have you guys thought in a while ever about Royce White's draft class? Because among draft class, cis, plural.
What year did he get drafted?
2012.
Okay.
I have always been interested in, like, for NFL, MLB, but my knowledge is a bit limited. And then especially NBA, which draft class would be the quickest if you got them all in a room to get into a fight with each other? I think it's the 2012 NBA draft class. Let me read off some names for you. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Bradley Beal, Dion Waiters. Okay, we're going down. Damian Lillard, Terrence Ross, Austin Rivers, Myers Leonard.
Wow.
Yeah, of course we've got Royce, Fab Mello, Miles Plumlee. I knew there was Festus.
Yeah.
Draymond Green coming in pretty at 35. Draymond Green. Chris Middleton, who can fight. We all know he can. 43rd pick, Mike Scott. Like, this class will fight.
What's funny about
That's
that?
a really good point.
Thank you.
That draft class, it's kind of, it was 2012 or whatever. It was like, so what's going to happen in the 2010s as far as like internet rotting our brain? Like, I'm wondering, like, what are the certain kind of ailments we're going to have? And it's like, well, some of you are going to be alt-right politicians. Some of you guys are going to have your own podcast. Some of you guys are going to have a high school mixtape. That was the best thing you ever did. Some of you, it's like they really... Some of you are going to get canceled for
some of y'all. Of y'all will have just caught COVID for the 27th time, Bradley.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. They're all kind of a little bit leaning too far into things we didn't know they'd be leaning into. Yeah. So anyway, if you think that Karl Marx is a white woman, like and subscribe. And thanks, Tyler and Jason, for coming on.
You're not even gonna let us plug things?
Yeah, plug away. I mean, I was gonna plug at the top for you. Go ahead.
I have nothing to plug. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
No, plug the newsletter. Again,
Check
I
out
will
the
plug it at the top, but yeah.
check out the newsletter.
Okay, be more specific.
We also have a podcast, so check that out. And I think that's it. Tyler, what do you got, brother?
Wrote a book that comes out next summer, and I tweeted about it, and you can pre-order it there.
Let's give some names to these podcast newsletters and novels.
My novel is called A Little Blood and Dancing.
And the name of the podcast is The Old Man and the Three. The newsletter is called A Farewell to Takes. And then I have a video dropping once a week on Farewell to Takes. We're calling that Gallagher TV Plus.
Gallagher TV Plus.
Wow, I love that.
Oh.
I love that so much.
That's all I got.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Haley.
Are you bored of the standard NFL shows giving you the same old chatter every week?
Stay hot. Maybe you're done with the old-timer NFL podcast with lukewarm takes. Stay hot.
Perhaps you're sick of the forced, uninspired, unfunny banter of most sports pods.
It's time to look no further than Stay Hot. We give you new takes, hilarious banter, and all the NFL insight you crave each and every week.
Listen to Stay Hot every week, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe on YouTube.